Matthew chapter 15. Then the scribes and Pharisees who were from Jerusalem came to Jesus, saying, "Why do your disciples transgress the traditions of the elders? For they do not wash their hands when they eat bread." He answered and said to them, "Why do you also transgress the commandment of God because of your tradition? For God commanded, saying, 'Honor your father and your mother,' and he who curses father or mother, let him be put to death. But you say, 'Whoever says to his father or mother, whatever profit you might have received from me is a gift to God,' then need not honor his father or mother. Thus you have made the commandment of God of no effect by your tradition. Hypocrites! Well did Isaiah prophesy about you, saying, 'These people draw near to me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me, and in vain they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandments of men.' When he had called the multitude to himself, he said to them, 'Hear and understand, not what goes into the mouth defiles a man, but what comes out of the mouth, this defiles a man.' Then his disciples came and said to him, 'Do you know that the Pharisees were offended when they heard this saying?' But he answered and said, 'Every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted will be uprooted. Let them alone. Let them alone. That's his word. They are blind leaders of the blind, and if the blind lead the blind, both will fall into a ditch.' Then Peter answered and said to him, 'Explain this parable to us.' So Jesus said, 'Are you also still without understanding? Do you not yet understand? Whatever enters the mouth goes into the stomach and is eliminated. But those things which proceed out of the mouth come from the heart, and they defile a man.'" Your heart can be defiled by your very own words. Then it turns into actions on the outside. "For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders," he's even saying it here, "adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemies. These are the things which defile a man, but to eat with unwashed hands does not defile a man." Then Jesus went out from there and departed to the region of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came from the region and cried out to him, saying, "Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely demon-possessed." But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and urged him, saying, "Send her away, for she cries out after us." But he answered and said, "I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." Then she came and worshipped him, saying, "Lord, help me." But he answered and said, "It is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs." And she said, "Yes, Lord, yet even the little dogs eat the crumbs which fall from their master's table." Then Jesus answered and said to her, "O woman, great is your faith. Let it be to you as you desire." See, he lets you have what you desire. And her daughter was healed from that very hour. Jesus departed from there, skirted the Sea of Galilee, and went up on the mountain and sat down there. Then great multitudes came to him, having with them the lame, blind, mute, maimed, and many others. And they laid them down at Jesus' feet, and he healed them. So the multitude marveled when they saw the mute speaking, the maimed made whole, the lame walking, and the blind seeing, and they glorified the God of Israel. Now Jesus called his disciples to him and said, "I have compassion on the multitude, because they have now continued with me 3 days and have nothing to eat, and I do not want to send them away hungry, lest they faint on the way." Then his disciples said to him, "Where could we get enough bread in the wilderness to fill such a great multitude?" Jesus said to them, "How many loaves do you have?" And they said, 7 and a few little fish. So he commanded the multitude to sit down on the ground, and he took the 7 loaves and the fish, and gave thanks, broke them, and gave them to his disciples, and the disciples gave to the multitude. So they all ate and were filled, and they took up 7 large baskets full of the fragments that were left. Now those who ate were 4,000 men. He fed 4,000 people besides women and children. The women and children weren't even counted in it. So if that was 4,000 men, then you have women and children. So 8. So let's kind of add this up. There had to have been over 12,000 people there. And he sent away the multitude. So that's basically what multitudes are to him. And he sent away the multitude, got into the boat, and came to the region of Magdala. So these mega churches, they never had a mega church. Jesus always had the mega church, not them. Then the Pharisees and Sadducees came, and testing him asked that he would show them a sign from heaven. The Pharisees and Sadducees came, and they're testing him. Said, you're not supposed to test him. Asked that he would show them a sign from heaven. He answered and said to them, when it is evening, you say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and threatening. Hypocrites, you know how to discern the face of the sky, but you cannot discern the signs of the times. A wicked and adulterous generation seek after a sign, and no sign shall be given to it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. And he left them and departed. Look at these signs in the sky. What do I always talk about? The blood red. Everything is blood red and black. And he left them and departed. Now when the disciples had come to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. Then Jesus said to them, take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, it is because we have taken no bread. But Jesus, being aware of it, said to them, O you of little faith, why do you reason among yourselves? Because you have brought no bread? Do you not yet understand or remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000 and how many baskets you took up, nor the 7 loaves of the 4,000 and how many large baskets you took up? How is it you do not understand that I did not speak to you concerning bread, but to beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees? Meaning, you'll have these false teachers. Their teaching is like leaven when you bake bread, and they'll apply that into your dough. Will you rise with demon people, fake instructors, or will you just rise with Jesus' leaven? It's 2 ways about it. This is why we read Jesus' words. Then they understood that he did not tell them to beware of the leaven of bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and Sadducees. When Jesus came into the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? So they said, some say the Baptist, some Elijah, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. He said to them, but who do you say that I am? Simon Peter answered and said, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Jesus answered and said to him, blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I also say to you that you are Peter, and on this rock, because Peter's name meant rock, on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it. Everyone's name has a meaning. And I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whoever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Then he commanded his disciples that they should tell no one that he was Jesus the Christ. From that time, Jesus began to show to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and be raised the third day. Then Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, Far be it from you, Lord, this shall not happen to you. But he turned and said to Peter, Get behind thee, Satan. You are an offense to me, for you are not mindful of the things of God, but the things of men. What did all that mean? Didn't, like when he was born back in the beginning of the story, that Herod tried to kill him and get rid of him? So and he couldn't do what he was supposed to do for his father, to do his father's will. So if Peter's took him aside and didn't want him to go through all that stuff, that would be like Satan saying, look, you don't need to do that. You shouldn't be doing your father's will. That's why he rebuked Peter. A lot of people don't understand why he did that to Peter. Then Jesus said to his disciples, If anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what profit is it to a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man will come in his glory of his Father with his angels, and then he will reward each according to his works. Jesus is prophesying the book of Revelations that was at this point not wrote yet by John. Assuredly, I say to you, there are some standing here who shall not taste death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Now, after 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John, his brother. You know, this right here, I just want to bring up a point to you guys, because this is what I think in my mind. Assuredly, I say to you, there are some standing here who shall not taste death till they see the Son of Man coming in the kingdom. What does that really even mean? For the Son of Man will come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he will reward each according to their works. This is Judgment Day. Assuredly, I say to you, there are some standing here who shall not taste death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. So, he's telling them what Judgment Day will be like. Now after 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John, his brother, led them up on a high mountain by themselves, and he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared. Now, I seen them in a vision, but whatever happens on the East Coast, it's so bad that Elijah and Moses descended from heaven. And if they stood on the state, I mean, it would be like their feet would, if they stood on a spot, would take up quarter of the state. And then I seen the two witnesses in like the same type of vision descending on Jerusalem. So this is all going to come to be. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, talking with them. See, people say, oh, you can't talk or pray to Moses or Elijah. But there's Jesus, transfigured, up there talking with them in front of the disciples. I'm going to tell you what, if you're warring, you need to call on these people. And people say, oh, you can't do that, you're talking to the dead. Well, they're proclaiming with their leavened bread like a Pharisee that a lie that Moses and Elijah are dead. They're alive. Because your body, you die and your body is buried, doesn't mean you're dead. The flesh is dead, not you. My God. Then Peter answered and said to Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. While he was still speaking, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and suddenly a voice came out of the cloud saying, oh, this would be Father. Look at Peter said, if you wish, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses and one for Elijah. Not to do that. While he was still speaking, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them. That's Father. Yeah. And suddenly a voice came out of the cloud saying, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear him." I tell you, when God has an explanation point, you guys never heard God talk real loud. I've heard him loud with me, aggressive. If I'm disobedient, I literally physically get ill because I'm that afraid of him. But the softness of God, I mean, remember I told you that the Holy Ghost spoke? My ear is still got that in there and into my being when he spoke. It's right in there. It's still there. I mean, I don't even know how long ago that was, but it's still there. And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their faces. I'm going to reread this. While he was still speaking, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and suddenly a voice came out of the cloud saying, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear him." And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their faces and were greatly afraid. You guys don't understand. There's some times when God tells me to say things and do things, and he's upset. You're on the ground. I get sick. I literally have to go to the bathroom, if you know what I mean. You don't understand. But Jesus came and touched them and said, "Arise and do not be afraid." When they have lifted up their eyes, they saw no one but Jesus only. Now as they came down from the mountain, Jesus commanded them, saying, Tell the vision to no one until the Son of Man is risen from the dead. And his disciples asked him, saying, Why then do the scribes say that Elijah must come first? Jesus answered and said to them, Indeed, Elijah is coming first, and will restore all things. But I say to you that Elijah has come already. He already disclaimed that John the Baptist was Elijah. And the two witnesses I seen descending into Jerusalem, I didn't know who they were. I just knew on the East Coast that was Elijah and Moses. That's all I know. I say to you that Elijah has come already, and they did not know him, but did to him whatever they wished. Likewise, the Son of Man is also about to suffer at their hands. Innocent, killed, because they wanted to continue sinning and having relations with their own family members and his niece. And when they had come to the multitude, a man came to him, kneeling down to him and saying, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is an epileptic and suffers severely. For he often falls into the fire and often into the water. So I brought him to your disciples, but they could not cure him. Then Jesus answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I bear with you? Bring him here to me. So at some point, they quit believing. The disciples at some point. Does Jesus and Father get the same way with me as the disciples? The same thing happens to me as he yells at the disciples. I'm serious as a heart attack. And Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. Then the disciples came to Jesus privately and said, Why could we not cast it out? So Jesus said to them, Because of your unbelief. There. See, now I'm just reading this not ahead to do a like some people, I'm going to read this and just go at it and be prepared. I'm just reading it as I go. So look, and I even get the answers before I get to the answers that are already here. So Jesus said to them, Because of your unbelief, you assuredly, I say to you, if you have faith as a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, Move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. However, this kind does not go out except by prayer and fasting. So you have to learn Jesus's ways, and he taught them from the beginning off that boat, the fishing boat, to now. Now they were having to begin to literally start doing these things. Just as you become a believer in the beginning, it'll gradually be him walking with you. Then gradually, then it's going to get to a point you're either going to do it or you're going to get in trouble. You have to do what his lessons are, period. And maybe you understand a lot better now about that. When someone gets saved, it doesn't happen instantly. You know, a drug addict. So it gradually, Jesus will show them their errors and keep them in on the path. If they're reading this should teach them how to get to a level that you don't need those drugs no more, and you should be fasting. You should be doing that. You should die off to the flesh, meaning, your cravings of your body. And you know, I'm going to tell a lot of you that are drug addicts, when you crave something, I've seen this, God let me see it in the spirit. There's normally a demon that hangs around your neck with its hands around you, and then its body with its entrails of intestines are out. And that thing focuses in your mind that you want it. You want it. Do you know these demons are in pain? They are in pain. So it's not you craving it. It's the demon craving it so that you'll do it so it doesn't feel its pain. They like to be stoned. You guys don't understand that if you start doing God's word, you don't need drugs, period. Almost, I would say 100% a demon is part of everyone's problems. They really are. There are some that are so big that I have been dealing with. Like last night, I'm tired. I mean, look at my bags, but it's okay. But I'm tired, my body, but my spirit feels like go, 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 go. These things are huge, gritty, fiery. They're huge. I have been, now it's been like, these got loosened out 4 months ago. They are huge. I would say if you were to do the height, I would say at least 100 feet demon. These are a fallen angel. I'm in a different class now from those little demons that I showed you on some of the videos. The small ones that are only like 10 feet, 12 feet tall. This is a new league. It's a new league of demons. I'm tired. And by the way, you could take your shield of faith. Let's say you have a family member over a holiday or any time that is on your nerves. You could take your shield of faith, and they don't teach this, and take that field of faith and blast light through them and blast that demon out, and take your sword of spirit in your mind and stab that thing right in the head. Disintegrates. They'll say, oh, those are just words. It's the helmet of salvation. I'm saved, so I just wear that helmet. No, there's a reason for that helmet. It's to stop the demons from penetrating in your mind. And at one point, when you wear your breastplate, I at one point in my life wasn't putting my armor on. Then this is what was shown to me. It looked like a baby, a cherubim baby. People, they have all these cherubim paintings like in Michelangelo and the Sistine Chapel. This thing was like a brass. See this color behind me? It was that color. A fallen angel, that brassy like color. You could tell at one point it glowed. That thing pulled back a bow and arrow and shot me in my chest. I felt it. I felt it. It hurt so bad. I was like, oh my God, what is that? I started praying to God. That was the beginning of my like dealings with demons. Then I seen another goldish, brassy looking demon, and it was a fallen angel. It was a smaller case angel, and even though it was a demon, Now, God, I don't believe that it is beautiful. I believe what you created was beautiful at one point and it turned evil, so it's not beautiful. You couldn't tell that it was the difference between a man or a female by looking at it, but you knew it was a male. So if God puts these demons in front of you and you know it's a male or I only dealt with like 2 female demons. Which is strange. There's a lot of male. So you get all these people that are homosexual or transgender. Those particular angels are the ones that are influencing their mind. You're like, how do they influence your mind? They will sit there and just think into your mind everything it wants you to do for it. Everything it wants. You're like a robot. You're stupid. What is the definition of stupid? Lack of common sense. That's the definition of stupid. Lack of common sense. So you have these fallen angels, and I tell you what, their clothing is like melded into their skin. Like you couldn't pull it up like this. It is melded into their skin. And they're in quite a bit of pain. And they also like alcohol. So the majority of people like that are alcoholics or drug addicts too. I mean, I could look at someone and kind of say, oh my God, that's that brassy looking angel. And it's really dull looking. For people to describe God looking like that brass color. Are you kidding me? God has a beautiful color, but just remember what I taught you about those. They do have weapons. They do have rope. What was I doing back then? Not putting my armor on. I didn't drink or do drugs back then. I didn't even do drugs. I can say when I was like 14 and 16, from 14 to 16, marijuana, but I tried it, but ended. It did nothing for me. Nothing for me. So, I don't know, back then I said the Lord's Prayer a lot. I always prayed the Lord's Prayer to God every night before I went to bed. And I'm 55 now. So teenagers, if you're trying out drugs, stop. You're being influenced by these angels. And if you have sexual disorientation problems of homosexuality or think you're trans, and you parents that keep putting that in their mind, now you know what demon is behind you to influence your own child. Wow. Child comes out with what it is, and you in your mind, well, I think they had another life, and that's what another spirit is coming out. You don't read the Bible. You only have one life, one spirit. It's one way. You're either going to hell or heaven. You're not coming back in another life, and you're doing a disservice to your own child. You disrespect God, and you are going to be judged severely if you do not stop doing what you're doing and repent. I'm going to stop now, and we'll start again. In a moment, because I don't like them running too long.